Blanche was on this morning saying that Massie and I have a problem, that it's taking too long. That's not the problem. The problem is this was a slap in the face of survivors. What do they want? They want to know who are the rich and powerful men who visited Epstein's rape island and covered up the abuse. And the key documents that our law basically said needed to be released, the 60-count indictment that actually implicates a lot of these people, and the prosecution memo were not released. It's not about the timeline, it's about the selective concealment.
On Friday, the Department of Justice released a fraction of the Jeffrey Epstein files, replete with redactions. And now Thomas Massie and Khanna are threatening to find Attorney General Pam Bondi in contempt of Congress for violating the Epstein Transparency Act. Before we get to their threats and the excuses coming from the DOJ, Cenk, your 2 cents.
Yeah, so a lot of you saw Khanna say that here first on the Young Turks last week, and they're really sticking to their guns. Here on the program, he said that not only could they do impeachment, but they could have Pam Bondi arrested with the Sergeant at Arms. We'll get to that in a minute. But what did they release? That's the heart of this, and what didn't they release? As you'll soon see, not much is what they released, and I'm going to tell you what the single key thing you should be looking for in all the Epstein stories, and that'll be your Rosetta Stone for if people are going in the right direction or not. That's after Jordan gives you all the facts.
So the law passed by Congress last month required the Justice Department to release all Epstein files in its possession within 30 days. But the deadline was last Friday, when the DOJ only produced part of their trove of files. The law allowed for some redactions to protect victims, and there's also a carve out for national security concerns. But many of the images and documents released so far have been heavily redacted with no explanation as to why. More than 20 files that the Justice Department initially released were also deleted without explanation from their website, including one photo of Epstein's desk of Donald Trump posing with women in bikinis. The Justice Department later said it temporarily took down the photo over concerns that it might include images of victims, but they reposted it, quote, without any alteration after determining it didn't. Here was Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche coming up with excuses for why the DOJ isn't following the law during an interview on Meet the Press.
Why didn't the Justice Department meet that Friday deadline?
It's very simple and very clear. The statute also requires us to protect victims. And so the reason why we are still reviewing documents and still continuing our process is simply that, to protect victims.
But content creator Aaron Parnas says that Blanche's claims are BS. He says, this is not true. I have confirmation from a Jane Doe Epstein survivor that her name was not redacted in publicly released files. The DOJ redacted the names of wealthy and powerful people, but failed to redact the name of a survivor. And today, survivors of Epstein's abuse put out a blistering letter slamming the DOJ for failing to redact multiple victims' identities. So not only is the DOJ unlawfully withholding thousands of Epstein files, they're not even doing the thing that they claim was their main priority and cause for the delay, protecting the victims. And now Thomas Massie and Khanna are threatening to seek punishment for Attorney General Pam Bondi.
The quickest way, and I think the most expeditious way to get justice for these victims is to bring inherent contempt against Pam Bondi. And that doesn't require going through the courts.
We only need the House for inherent contempt, and we're building a bipartisan coalition, and it would fine Pam Bondi for every day that she's not releasing these documents. The problem here is that there are rich and powerful people. We all know this. There are 1,200 victims. They're rich and powerful people who either engaged in this abuse, covered it up, or were on this island. And what the American people want to know is, who are these people? And instead of holding them accountable, Pam Bondi is breaking the law. And this is the corrupt system, the Epstein class that people are sick of. So I believe we're going to get bipartisan support in holding her accountable, and a committee of Congress should determine whether these redactions are justified or not.
Before the Friday deadline even hit, Khanna proposed these options for punishing Bondi and other DOJ officials during his interview here on TYT.
Massie and I have talked about introducing an impeachment resolution against Pam Bondi, where we could get Republicans breaking and supporting that if the release of the files is not in compliance with the law. Second, she could be held in inherent contempt of Congress. That means the Sergeant of Arms of Congress could actually arrest her, and there could be a trial in Congress about whether she was transparent. And we are pursuing a number of those things.
And as NPR explains, inherent contempt refers to Congress's authority to fine or arrest and then bring to trial officers who are obstructing legislative functions. It was last successfully used in the 1930s, according to the American Bar Association. Blanche said Sunday that he doesn't take seriously even a little bit threats to impeach administration officials or hold them in contempt. Bring it on. We are doing everything we're supposed to be doing to comply with this statute. And Congressman Massie and these other congressmen that are coming out speaking negatively about FBI Director Kash Patel and the Attorney General have no idea what they're talking about. Cenk.
Yeah, so to be fair to Blanche, he might, when he says they're just trying to protect the victims, he might mean the rich and powerful donors that have given to his boss and to all the other bosses. And he views them as the victims. Like, well, guys, they just abused underage girls. And now we're giving them a hard time and hassling them. And now you want their pictures and names? You want to prosecute it? No, poor victims. We've been trying to protect them all along. Yeah, that's what we thought, Blanche. Okay, now, what's the key that I'm talking about where you can tell if they've released enough or not? So overall, in this particular case, it's not really a close call. I thought they might give us some morsels here, so that they could say, well, look, we gave you that and we gave you that, and that about covers it, right? But they didn't really even do that. People looked through all the files, there's barely any new information at all. When you get to the grand jury testimonies, the actual witnesses, the evidence, they're all redacted, right? So, okay, but let's assume that they had, then the next time around they put out some portions that seem interesting or relevant, maybe name some names. Well, that's really the beginning of the key. So if none of these documents ever name a single other abuser, well, then they're an obvious joke, right? I mean, there is over 1,000 girls who were abused. There are at least dozens of men who did it. And if the Justice Department doesn't release even a single name of one of them, they're obviously protecting them. And then an even bigger key is, does anyone else ever get prosecuted? And so far, the Trump Justice Department has been screaming what others have also done quietly, which is no, hell no, we'll never prosecute anyone related to Epstein. They put out a statement like that, and that's what led to all of this pushback from Massie and Khanna, et cetera, to begin with. So now here's something we've never talked about, and I think is super important for you to know. Why are they so reluctant to maybe even do a couple of sacrificial lambs, right? Oh, here, Prince Andrew and the other guy. Okay, let's throw them to the wolves. They don't have much power, and then we'll hide behind that and say that's enough, right? Why not, and why was Epstein killed? I know. If you're a national media reporter, no, the cameras were out by accident in the hallway, and the guards were out by accident and coincidence, and his roommate got moved by coincidence. Okay, all right, like if you're stupid, there's nothing I can do for you. But why was Epstein killed, right, in prison? That's a hell of a thing to do. That is a giant risk for any entity to do, to go and kill someone inside a US prison, somehow get the guards to go off, get the hallway video killed, make sure the US government either doesn't find out about it or covers it up for you. And in this case, we know it's a cover up because they say, oh, we didn't get the video from the hallway. That video was broken at that time. Okay, sure, just like we predicted. All right, and then they say, okay, but we found one in the common area, and then that's doctored by 3 minutes. And then there's a mysterious figure in the video. Okay, so obviously the US government is in on it because they're not just can't find it, they found it, doctored it, and then put it out. And that's not even the right video. The hallway video is the one we want in front of his cell. So guys, as we've discussed many, many times, what's the only thing powerful enough to be able to do that? One side's couple of political figures, no way. The other side would rat him out in a second, right? And there's a lot of rich people involved. No, the rich people do get prosecuted from time to time, okay? No, it's intelligence agencies, and to me at this point it's blaringly obvious. But that gets us back to the main thing that I wanted to put your attention on. The same reason why they'll never prosecute anyone, and why Epstein couldn't go to trial is if anything goes to trial, the victim or the accused is gonna say, I have information rights. I wanna see what the government has. And what the government has is that Epstein was run by an intelligence agency. So they cannot ever go to trial. The only person that went to trial and got convicted was Ghislaine Maxwell. So why didn't Ghislaine Maxwell ask the government for information on the intelligence agencies? I don't know, maybe because her dad was the biggest Mossad spy of all time. And if she was intelligence, she then couldn't use intelligence as a defense. So that's the very last thing she'd want to say is, by the way, I'm a Mossad spy. Can I get that as my defense? No, so she's the one person who definitely wouldn't use that defense and wouldn't ask for the intelligence agency information. But anyone else would do it to defend themselves. So that's why no one can go to trial, including Epstein. That's my sense of it. But one thing that I think, Jordan, we could all agree on is if they never charge anyone and they never name anyone, obviously, it's an enormous cover-up that continues through both Republican and Democratic administrations.
Yeah, I mean, we remember early on the language and the reasoning from Bondi, Bongino, et cetera. Oh no, there's something to see here. Nope, there was no trafficking whatsoever. It was just Epstein and Maxwell. Now all of a sudden it's like, well, we got to protect all of these victims, and it's like the details are starting to shift a little bit. But then now today, shortly before we went live, Trump is at a mini presser for new Navy ships, which we may talk about tomorrow. And also his comments in response to reporter questions, which we will certainly talk about tomorrow. He's now upset. He's deeply stressed, bothered, Jank, that pictures of people with Epstein are being revealed, and it's making people angry. And these poor people are having their lives upended just for being in photos with Jeffrey Epstein. It's like, how is that your concern? You have all of these victims of this guy, purportedly only victimized by this guy, and you're worried about the other people that he was palling around with? You allegedly thought he was a bad guy and kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago way after other people started to know about who his true self was. I mean, the speculation and I think the shared understanding is that there was a conflict over poaching happening at Mar-a-Lago, and that's why he got kicked out. It wasn't out of some sort of situation where Trump was frowning on his behavior at all, only that it affected him. But I think some of the spin from the Trump administration is pathetic, but this is a consequence of their own rhetoric. You have multiple figures in their administration who demanded this, who latched onto this issue for years on their own podcasts. They ran on it, they promised it. Now all of a sudden they don't want to deliver on it because they know their base will revolt. So I think it's important to keep stoking those fires, because I do think a lot of people on the right want complete and total transparency and are not buying the justification for some of these redactions.
Yeah, look, I'll add one last thing. At this point, I don't know if there is a difference between the CIA and Mossad. Because if it's Mossad, why? The CIA apparently and our government is covering up for a different government. And instead of saying, these are terrible people who were spies inside our country and got information on powerful people and maybe use it against us, that's awful and terrible and we should go get the sons of bitches. Doesn't look like it. Robert Maxwell stole our nuclear secrets. We never even arrested him. Does the CIA still even exist, or is it just Mossad? So is it, or maybe in this case, look, I'm open-minded. It could be that it's not Mossad. It's just that Epstein loved Israel. And so he wanted to do everything in his power to help Israel, as you see in all of the emails. Israel, help Israel, help Israel. Get America to do this and this for Israel. But he was CIA. It's not impossible. I mean, look, even I'm a little bit surprised that Mossad would have this kind of power to block everything in the US government, right? And no matter how much political damage it does, you are never, ever allowed to cross Mossad or Israel. Is that possible? Yeah, it's totally possible, okay? But it's also possible that it's the CIA and they just go up to the politicians and go, national security, that's it. Shut up, there's nothing you could do about it. Yeah, we had the girls raped, so what? And we were collecting information for American interests. I've never seen the CIA work for American interests, ever, okay? But all right, it's definitely CIA or Mossad or both, and I'm not sure that there's a difference anymore.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.